Hey everyone, I'd like to welcome you to the Lander County Commission meeting of January 26, 2023. All times on this agenda are approximate. Consideration of items may require more or less time than is scheduled. Items on the agenda may be taken out of order. The public body may combine two or more agenda items for consideration, and the public body may remove an item from the agenda or delay discussion relating to an item on the agenda at any time. Public comment is designated for discussion only. The public has the opportunity to address the commission on any matter not appearing on the agenda. However, no action may be taken on any matter raised until the matter itself has been specifically included on the agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. Additionally, public comment may be heard on any item listed on the agenda. Persons are invited to submit comments in writing and or attend and make comments on any agenda item at the Lander County Commission Board meeting. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person at the discretion of the commission. Please note that the public body may interrupt the open meeting and exclude the public for the purpose of having an attorney-client discussion of potential and existing litigation. And this is pursuant to NRS 241-015-3B2. So I'll call this meeting to order. And Mike, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have a moment of silence. Lander County Commission may break for lunch from 12 p.m. to 1:15 p.m. Any agenda item may be taken out of order, may be combined for consideration by the public body, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. So we'll move into commission reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended. Patsy?
Thank you. I did want to give you an update on the Austin Clinic. We did have a Zoom meeting with them, and we now have the clinic open every single Thursday. 2 Thursdays, the 2nd and the 4th, we actually have the PA that continues to come. And the other 2, or if there happens to be 3 Thursdays, they'll cover that too. And that will be covered by our EMT team out of Austin. And that will be in the morning, and it will be all telemedicine. So at least we have some coverages. There's exclusions, of course, with telemedicine, but we're still excited about the fact that we can access a lot of different things that still may be coming up that are medical issues, and we don't have to wait. I did have the Kingston board meeting that I attended, which was on the 20th, and they elected new officers on their board. Grace Kemp is now the new chair. Tammy Elkins is the vice chair, and the new board member, which is Lacey Brown, is now the clerk. Also, we had the Central Nevada Regional Water Authority meeting, and of course there's lots of things coming up naturally on the legislature and the new bills that they're following, but they did their election, and we have the very same chair and vice chair, and that's Joni Easley as chair and Norm Fry as our second chair. And we also had other representation, and Commissioner Wallace was there, so I'll let him fill in any other additional items. Thank you.
Yeah. I have no report. JR?
Patsy covered the water board meeting, so I have nothing to report.
Okay. Mike?
I attended the pool pack for new elected officials in Reno, along with myself, Colt Nelson, Sean and Tonya Baker were in attendance. Liz McDonald, Bert Ramos, and Don Prince were there as well. It was informational. I haven't been to that one. Informational more on the services that they provide and what we pay for. And I will say that going out for the first time, I was very impressed with the knowledge that the group, Liz and Bert and the county leaders had of the services that are provided to the county and the services we're paying for. So it was good.
Good, thank you. We'll move into staff reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended.
Good morning, Commission. So mine's pretty brief today, but some quick things that I think you need to be aware of is I did approve the building official to waive the permit fees for the Civic Center kitchen. It's being as it is a county project, paying ourselves for our own fees, and that's about $7,367 is what that amounted to. That would have been permit fees that we waived, and just for content, we have waived other ones in the past, including all the other structures we built for the county. And most of them that come before us and ask for waivers when it comes to hospital and school as well. And then I spoke with NDOT. They do have a report on the agenda today, so I don't want to dig too deep into that, but I did speak with them on the 2 rest areas near Battle Mountain here. Button Point is going to be closed permanently. That's the one just outside of Winnemucca because of its proximity to Winnemucca and the water quality. So that one won't be opening back up. And then hopefully in the next 3 months, we'll get the one out here, and it is, I guess it would be the Valmy exit out there that.
Oh, yes.
Biawowie, there we go, sorry. Biawowie's, they just got the approval. They're gonna be putting in a new septic system there, and it should take about 3 months before it opens back up, so then that one will be back open for the public, but
Both sides?
that's my understanding. It'll be about 3 months. One side has a water quality issue, that they're working through, but they believe they have that handled, so. Then I did speak with Tim Robb and Bob Lucy out of the governor's office, because there's $2 million for rural Nevada that they believe that Lander County is a prime candidate for getting, and that comes directly through the governor's office. So we'll be applying for that here in the upcoming weeks. And then we have a meeting with GoEd coming up to further the conversation with the Amtrak stop here in Battle Mountain. So we're continuing to push on that as well. And then the opioid settlement, just for reference, we've got $134,579 so far we've received from that. I wanted the commission to be aware of that because we've only spent the $7,000 of that for the video production we're putting out, but hopefully we can put some things together with our clinic to move forward. And then Patsy, to your employee engagement survey, we are moving forward on that as well. I'll bring back some of the fees and things that come with that if we want to move forward with this same company that Humboldt County used. Humboldt County surveyed all their employees. Obviously, it's voluntarily because you can't have elected officials' offices. You can't require their employees to do a report. That's up to the elected official to bring that and approve it. But Humboldt County did do theirs, and it cost them about just over $12,000 to get that report. Then the Austin Youth Center, this is the bad news of the day, is as Patsy spoke to a little earlier, the roof of it caved in. I think that the county is somewhat, a little negligent on that one. That one falls squarely on our shoulders. It is what it is, and we have to deal with this moving forward, but the heat was turned off in there from when it was deemed structurally unsafe. When the bell tower was tore off of it, it kind of shook that building a little bit and probably didn't help it any. And then we had a tremendous snow load along with ice buildup that made that collapse. So we'll be getting with the insurance company trying to figure out how that works, because it is attached to a private property owner on the other side that there's some damage to that building as well, and I'm not sure how that one will pan out, but we'll keep you guys up to date on that. And that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move into public comment. For non-agenda items only, persons are invited to submit comments in writing and/or attend and make comments on any non-agenda item at the board meeting, if any, and discussion of those comments at the discretion of the board. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person, again, at the discretion of the board. Reasonable restrictions may be placed on public comment based upon time, place, and manner. The public comment based upon viewpoint may not be restricted. Do we have any public comment?
Hi, this is Dee Helming, Austin. I just wanted to comment on the youth center. We've asked you guys repeatedly if we could get the roof fixed and something done, and now it's too late. We're pretty devastated here. That was an awesome building, and all of our stuff is still in there. We were never allowed to get it out. Every time we tried to make arrangements, it didn't work out. So our pool table, foosball tables, air hockey table, furniture, tapes, video games, all that stuff are still in there. Just an FYI. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee. Any more public comment? Okay, we'll move into our consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action, without extensive discussion. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed, and acted upon separately during the meeting. Consent agenda materials are available at the Lander County Clerk's office for viewing, and copies are available for a nominal charge. 1, approval of January 26, 2023 agenda notice. 2, approval of December 22nd, 2022 meeting minutes. 3, approval of January 3rd, 2023 special meeting minutes. 4, approval of January 12th, 2023 meeting minutes. And 5, approval of payroll change requests.
Liz, do we have any changes on the agenda? No. Okay, with that, I will make a motion that we approve number 1, the agenda, number 2, meeting minutes of December 22nd, 2022, and number 5, approval of payroll change request. I did not receive the minutes on the other 2.
Okay, we have a motion from Patsy. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
JR seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We'll move into item 1, Commissioners. For discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove the payment of bills. We'll need to pull check number 218382, check number 218386, and check number 218480.
I make a motion that we approve the balance of the bills minus the 3 checks.
Okay, we have a motion from Patsy. Is there a second? I'll second. Mike seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
I make a motion we approve check number 218386 and 218480.
So Patsy made the motion. Do we have a second? Mike seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. And I'll abstain from that because those checks are made to my employer. And then I will make a motion that we approve 218382.
I'll second it.
So I made the motion, Mike seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay.
And I abstain. That is my per diem travel expense. Thank you.
Okay, motion carries. So we'll move into item 2. For discussion and possible action to approve, disapprove a request from the Humboldt River Basin Water Authority for Lander County to contribute an additional amount not to exceed $1,500 to match a William N. Pennington Foundation grant award of $60,000 to the Desert Research Institute for cloud seeding operations in the Humboldt River Basin, Santa Rosa, and Ruby Mountains this winter season. So I think we had this on our last agenda, and they had asked for if we could help them out with more money, and since it was only, I think it was agendized for $3,500 on the last, we had to bring it back, so that's where we're at today on it.
Right, so we did think that we'd like to go ahead and give them the additional that they needed, and this is matched, of course, by the Williams and Pennington Foundation. So I make a motion that we actually contribute an additional $1,500 for the Humboldt River Basin Water Authority.
Okay, so Patsy made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, JR seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 3, update on the Battle Mountain Library by Library Specialist Rebecca Lake. Morning, guys.
Sean Baker for the record.
Rebecca Lake for the record. Okay, so both the libraries are coming together very nicely. Austin has all their books cataloged and books on the shelf. It's coming together really well. We are looking to purchase more books to fill the space more for both libraries. I wasn't able to get exact patron usage to compare it from last year to this year of numbers grown, but Austin did serve about 15 patrons, give or take, last month. Battle Mountain's numbers have doubled since last year. November 2021, we had 179 patrons. November 2022, we had 638.
Wow.
December 2021, we had 173. December 2022, we had 565, sorry. January 2022, we had 192. January 2023, thus far, we've had 319. We are constantly working on different displays within the library to market what we have or have interactive displays. We are bringing in different things for patrons to use within the library, such as Lego wall, community coloring pages, puzzles, STEM kits, and more. We do have a homeschool group that uses the library 2 days out of the week. They are there for the computers and to use the Promethean board for lessons. We do have a Dungeons and Dragons club meeting in the library now. That's structured to young adults. We also have a knitting group who meets weekly there. We have focused on community outreach. We have participated in the business trick or treat. We have just participated in a winter essentials clothing drive with a local church. We've hosted 2 adult workshops. They were very successful. Patrons were pleased. Our story time is flourishing. We've had anywhere from 2 to 18 kids. During that story time, the kids are there's song, there's poems, there's book readings, and then an activity that ties in. We've cataloged 6,500 books in the Battle Mountain Library so far. And let's see, sorry. I have been selecting materials for the library that provide a broad and relevant collection to our community. I take into consideration community interests, concerns, national and international issues and events, publishing trends and support recreational reading and new insights. And then, yeah, it's just my goal as bringing in different books that I am representing the needs and interests of our community. So that's my update.
Thank you. I do have a question.
Yes.
As far as the materials coming into our library, do we have an oversight body or committee that would look at some of these books to make sure that they are appropriate?
We're actually the library board.
Right, that's why my question is, because I don't think, that nothing has ever come before us, so, because if there's things that are coming into our county library, I think we should have a say and be able to say that we're okay with it or we're not okay with it.
We certainly can put that together.
Yeah.
I would think so, and we can put a list before you guys and then we can talk about them. So, yeah, it's very good.
I'm also wondering, like, with the history and research and things like that, the books that we need in, do you have anybody that actually is guiding you in any of the other libraries? Is there anything out that say, these are the main things that we have to have, the minimum a library should have? I mean, is there anything out there?
There's the Nevada Library Association's bylaws, if that's what you're meaning, and we're following that, but we're still working towards becoming that in a sense.
The other thing, Pat, we do is we work very closely with Round Mountain right now, and how they have structured their library. We're kind of turning this to because they kind of did away with they weren't attached to Elko or the state, kind of created their own county library. So we are working with them on how they've done things to kind of structure it that way too.
I just wondered, would we get the guidance since we're starting so new? If I came in and you didn't have a book, can you order it for me? Do we have any cooperating agreements with other libraries or anything, or?
Not from other libraries. We would need to purchase that and then sell it to the patron, or just bring it in and put it up on our shelf, depending what the patron would like. Does that make sense?
Well, that kind of answers my question. Thank you. I sincerely appreciate the update, and you did a really good job with our follow-up, and I think it's exciting for what you've done. I mean, there's no doubt that we're certainly, it just is such a pleasing place to come in now, too, and so comfortable. So, good job, Rebecca, and thank you, and please keep us informed. And along with yours, I agree. What if we get something in there that we're not real happy about? Since we are our own library, is that something the library board should be looking at, or, because we were only temporary,
Right.
and so maybe we should think about putting together a library board and putting it on the agenda.
Yeah, I think a collection development policy is probably what we're looking for.
Well, if you had a board that that actually could assist you and had meetings and things
Yeah.
that you've got more people you're bouncing things off on, so I would be in favor of that.
Yeah.
Let's put that on the agenda.
Rebecca, I'd like to say just thank you for your hard work, and the numbers are pretty incredible, and I've heard great things around the community, so just wanted to pay you kudos, so thank you.
Thank you.
I went in there not long ago and kinda toured around a little bit. It looks really neat in there. You guys
Thank
done
you.
a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Do you have some future workshops coming up that you can tell us about?
Not at the moment, to be honest. I've been focusing on this presentation and budget at the moment. But there will be more, I promise.
Well, budget first.
Yes, most definitely.
I walked through as well, and, I worked one day, I'm very impressed, the activities and that, for your signage and that was really good. How many computers do you have, and the Austin one included?
We have 4 computers in Battle Mountain and a laptop in Austin.
And that would be accessible for the public for like to get on like Nevada Job Connect to
Yeah.
help with that, cause we really don't, I understand we really don't have a place in town, but the library is open to that and they can go there and that's a piece that anybody can use.
Most definitely,
Okay.
yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
good, Becca.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm still on for the next one, guys, so I'll
Okay.
just.
So we'll move into item 4, for discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove, disposing of non-real estate property in Lander County's possession that can't be sold on public surplus sale. Gentlemen?
Commission, John Baker for the record.
Don Prince for the record.
So I see here,
Yep.
there's, most of these, if I'm not mistaken, are all of those vehicles.
Yeah, it's, so most of the vehicles in your packet were either impounded from the sheriff's department from years ago, or vehicles that were either, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, but, could have been found in the desert that was destroyed or rolled and they towed behind the old admin building over there. We don't have titles to these, we don't have ownership, but speaking with the previous, assistant deputy DA, his thoughts were if we put this in the paper and advertise the owners to come pick up their property, and in 30 days, if they don't come pick up their property, then at that point, it is abandoned. It is truly abandoned, and we can see whatever we want to do. So there's different options. We can sell it to a wrecking yard. That's really the only option I was thinking of. But if you guys have other ideas, please jump in, because
Well, my thought on it is, if we do go through the formalities, we
Right.
can, we obtain ownership, then we can, do a lost title on it, where it becomes our possession based on that, right? Am I
Right.
correct in saying that? And then we could continue to bid them out, cause there's some vehicles in here that are definitely worth more than what the scrap amount is. And then maybe that could be something that we give you, like the ones that we think it's just gonna be scrap move, but there's like some Toyota vehicles in here, I think we can probably bring a pretty good, penny for,
right.
rather than
And-
just turning them over to scrap.
And so on that, the caveat would be to see if we could even get the title first. So, and then at that point, if we couldn't, then we'd have to look at whether we sold it to a wrecker or just something like that.
I believe
But-
at that point, we could actually sell it to a person without a title.
Because
And
just
then,
by doing the
then leave it on the
newspaper,
person whoever purchases it to, it's up to them
that
to.
burden's on them,
Yes.
okay.
But what I'm really looking for today is we need to post them for the owners, the previous owners that had them, to come pick them up in the paper. And then when they don't, then they are truly Lander County's property to see fit.
Okay. Is there any discussion on it? Any public discussion?
Amanda, do you have anything?
It's not as easy as it was just said, just so you know.
Would you come up to the front here and state your name for the record?
Hi, my name is Amanda Harris, I'm representing Atlas Towing Service. We did put the formal bid in regards to the scrap quote.
Could you, yes, Amanda, just make sure you speak so everything's recorded.
So in acquiring titles through DMV, they have recently gone through many changes. I actually just met with DMV yesterday from Carson City in regards to how obtaining titles has become much more painful and expensive. You cannot just sell a vehicle with a bill of sale. You have to have a title in hand. If you do not have a title in hand, you have to go through the process of now called a bonded title, where you have to hold a bond on that vehicle for 4 years before you can move forward. that title stays in that person's name for those 4 years. If the last registered owner does not come and claim that title, then you are legally allowed to sell that vehicle. This has gone into effect because the courts were having issues contacting the last registered owners. The courts then felt that they were being liable. Carson City was starting to feel liable, so they created this new policy of last year. I've been fighting with it as myself through Atlas trying to obtain titles, so that's the reason why we finally sat down and had a meeting with them yesterday morning. Advertising them is the correct way of doing that, I feel, to say, hey, you guys have 30 days to come get your stuff, and then you guys can proceed forward. You guys can do, they actually don't allow a long lien sale process through wrecking yards anymore, which is why they now have the bonded title process. It's become very convoluted, unfortunately.
When did that law change?
I believe it was last year. They added the bonded title feature. So it's up to you guys, your discretion, what you guys would like to do, but it's not as easy of saying, we've notified you, we got 30 days, now we can sell this vehicle to somebody without a title. You guys need to have a title in Lander County's name.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
I agree, and then Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, if after the 30 days, and then it comes to the county as lost or abandoned property.
Correct.
If it goes to a wrecking yard, you guys still have, the wrecking yard has an obligation to
Notify the last registered owner.
and
as
still
well.
try to find titles and notify the last owners too.
Correct, we have to go through the process. We can long lien sell them through you guys with an abandoned title. We would go through the lien sale process, which is about $600 a car, give or take advertising. You do a 15-day notice, storage notice, so to speak, saying you can come claim your vehicle. That would not come back on the county for that. It would be strictly on that owner. From there, we send out another 15-day notice of the lien sale. We advertise it for 3 weeks. After that, then we can legally get a salvage title to scrap it or sell parts or whatever we need to do. But
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. So right now, yeah, looking for approval to advertise for property owners. Obviously, we're all in agreement, that's kind of the first step into this. Moving past that, if you want the county to take on to find the titles, or if we wanna sell it to a wrecking yard, I guess we can put that back on another agenda. Or any thoughts or ideas, but moving forward, yes, we need to advertise first. That is the first step to moving this property.
Well, I would agree that that's the first step that needs to be taken, and once that's done, then it can come back to the board again, and then we can look at what options that we wanna take. Is there any more discussion on it? Okay, we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we advertise the surplus vehicles.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
okay, so JR made the motion, Patsy seconded it, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay, motion carries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So we'll move into item 5, presentation by the Nevada Department of Transportation regarding the county's consultation process, NDOT's annual work program within the county, and the One Nevada process. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I have a presentation that we're gonna bring up, I believe.
Could you state your name for the record, sir?
Yes, sorry, Darren Tedford, Deputy Director for NDOT.
Thank you.
And do you all have copies of this? Anyone?
Yeah.
Guess I'm all right, just get started then.
What office are you in,
I work in Carson City.
Carson?
Yeah, Carson City, and I'm not here alone. We have a couple other people from Carson City, and then a large contingent of our maintenance team and our district team from all over, wherever we overlap into Lander County. So we're all happy to be here today and make this presentation. We appreciate the opportunity, so.
there you go.
forward shift. I can do that.
Okay, again, thank you for having us. Sorry for the delay. We're happy to be here today, have this meeting, and continue to have interactions with the county, all the counties across the state, but Lander County this morning and on a recurring basis. So just a quick thing on our next slide is the things I'm going to touch on really quickly today on our what we call our agenda would be go through our introductions we did, go through our engagement process, give you an idea of what we call our One Nevada Transportation Plan process for prioritizing projects, look at what the annual work program is, what work we have planned for Lander County, what we've accomplished in the last couple of years, and what we have planned for the next couple, and then a description about how we keep this interaction going. So on the next slide, you can see that within Lander County, we have about 280 miles of Nevada state routes and U.S. routes that are within the purview of the Department of Transportation. You are familiar with all these roads on the slide. And also an indication of what we collected in motor fuel taxes in that time period there from July 2021 through May of 2022. On the next slide, just a bit about this process that we're going through. We have this process established. We're always trying to make it better if necessary. Have a couple of times a year where we meet with the commissioners and with the county managers to see what the needs are, discuss the details of those needs, and come to some understanding of what the priorities are for the county. This engagement process is recurring. Like I stated, it's an ongoing basis. So we have 2 meetings a year. This is the one on the bottom, number 3, where we come and just have the interaction, have the face-to-face. We do have discussions with commissioners, like I said, with representatives of the counties. This happens with the cities, all of our local agencies, to understand what needs are. As we go around the circle here, we do analysis, we schedule projects that we can. I'll talk a little bit about prioritization, and then this meeting got delayed a couple of times. Typically it would be in the fall where we're here face to face with the Board of Commissioners, but the next meeting is coming up, and that meeting is what we call a workshop. So on the top, number 1 up there is the county workshop, where we meet with anybody from the county who's interested and look at the list of projects that we have that we know that the county's interested in, discuss if there's more, discuss if something dropped off, and talk about what the priorities are for the county. So that meeting will be coming up again soon in the spring on what the regular basis would be, and this just keeps reoccurring. We keep having the meetings, keep having the interactions, look at projects, check things off the list, and see what new things are on the list.
If, for that meeting, is it held in Carson?
No, we come out to the
You come
county
out
to,
here. Okay,
yep,
perfect.
face to face.
Thank you.
You bet. So, in terms of that workshop that we will be having again in the spring, this is the activity that I described that happens. So, collect all of the concerns, collect all the ideas for projects, and really just have that face to face and see where the county is and what we can do with NDOT's side for we have our district team here. It's everybody that does projects that you see our districts do, small projects all over the county, whether we're talking about cattle guards or approaches or stop signs. And as the projects get bigger, they turn into what we call 4-digit contracts. They get advertised, they go out to contractors. So there's a whole range of projects and things that we can do. And this is the point on this annual basis that we collect those needs and have discussion about them.
May I ask a question? on that?
Absolutely.
Because we've been doing this for a long time with you, and you said you're tracking. So the things that we asked for 10 years ago, are they still on your list?
So the list I have is 2021 and 2022 items that were gathered, but those I understand your comment and question, and I understand that sometimes things get on the list and they stay there for a long time. But this is part of the process that we're trying to improve.
Do they fall off?
Typically, they wouldn't fall off; they would stay there. And so we're not going to ignore something that, because it was 3 years ago, it's not on the list anymore. I think in coordination with the county and any commissioners that came to this county workshop and said, we still want this stop sign out here, in that regard, it would stay on the list. The process we're trying to improve is someone at the county wants to have a stop sign in this location. Can we do the analysis, decide if it's warranted or not, give the county feedback, and say, in this case, yes, it's warranted, or in this case, it's not, which would indicate whether we were gonna leave something on the list or not.
Okay, let me give you an example.
Please.
In the Austin on Highway 50, and it is so bad with actually sharing the road with our bicyclists. So we have asked for the road to be marked, share the road. We asked for it for about 5 or 6 years straight, and then it just kind of fell off, and I'm going, are you still looking at that? I mean, do we need to bring it up again and again and again, or are you just gonna say no, and we can get it off the list?
So I hesitate, but I will say, please bring it up again when we have this meeting. And the reason I say that, please bear with me, would be we want to address the concerns and not let them sit there and be stale. We want to either agree that it needs the signage or give you a really good reason why we're not going to do it. And then come to some understanding why we wouldn't do it if that was the case. And so that you can say, okay, there's requirements, there's legislation, there's whatever the case might be where we shouldn't put those signs in particular that you're talking about, or that we will, and we'll prioritize it and get them installed. And I understand your example, and I kind of use it as an example for anything that wants to be brought up, is we have the lists and you have the list, and if it was 5 or 6 years ago and this says 21 and 22, that where did it go? And if it's still a concern you have, we need to be responsive and say, here's why we would or wouldn't put in the signs, and if we're going to, here's when. We need to be able to say that. That's part of this process we're trying to change. We're honestly trying to change the process so things don't either drop off or stay on the list forever. Thank you for the question, I appreciate that. In terms of that determination, then your next slide is about our One Nevada transportation process. And so this process is taking in, addressing, identifying all the needs that we have across the state. Those are just needs. Sometimes it's hard to talk about what the need is and what the solution is, or what a project would be. But a need would be crashes or concerns with near hits with bicyclists near Austin. That's the need you have, or a concern, right? And a project to address that need might be signage, might be widening, might be some other solution. But that project needs to be created to address a concern, a need. And then those projects statewide for NDOT need to be prioritized. And so this process looks at every project, small or big, considers the scale of a small or big project, and doesn't necessarily just focus on big projects because they overshadow small projects. But it also addresses each of these different goal areas that you see on the screen. So enhancing safety. There's a bicyclist right on this picture on the very first badge, right? And safety is our top concern everywhere across the state. There's many different needs, different types of needs, but obviously safety is our first concern. You see preserve infrastructure, you see connecting communities, transforming economies is an interesting one if you just read it as a badge or a bullet, but understanding that NDOT has a pretty significant role in making sure the economies across the state and in and outside of the state can connect with the roads that we have and that we maintain. That's our main role in transforming economies, would be allow them to be transformed, if you will. So these are our goal areas to address the needs across the state in all these different areas. And then if we go on to the next slide, I talked a little bit about needs identification. This is when we're talking about interaction with our agencies, with our counties. This is coming to the county and the county says we have these needs. That's as valid a way of us identifying needs as we go around the state and we collect our pavement condition on all of our roads, 5,500 centerline miles of roads that we travel once every 2 years or once every year, depending on the category of road, to determine the condition. We look at all of our bridge conditions. We look at crash reports. So besides those things, coming to the county and identifying needs that the county has, this is one of the ways that we collect all those needs. As I mentioned, all those needs turn into projects. So on the next slide, you'll see this process where we talk about here's the needs that we have, and we discussed some of those already. We turn those needs, depending on how complicated they are or not, those evolve from a concept to a project, and those projects could be 800 to 1,000 that we have in the state right now, potential projects, developed concepts that we're prioritizing. And like I said, small to big, a stop sign, share the road signs on the side of the road, or milling and overlaying I-80 that you're gonna see on our list here in a few minutes. They all get considered. It's not black and white, go with what the data says. We still have some common sense factored into this prioritization process. And this is how our projects advance through this process and then turn into our annual work program and our 4 to 10 year long plan for future projects. Any questions about that?
So, going back a little bit, how many needs were identified for Lander County last year?
On this list for 22, I have 11.
And how many became projects?
The top two look like, oh, that's your top two priorities. On a slide, I'll show you what we have that we did do in the last year, and then we can compare as we go through this, because I didn't make that comparison, but, yes, we can do that if you'll allow me to stall for a minute. Appreciate it. Anything else about our process and how that works? Okay for now? I'm happy to answer questions anytime. So on this slide, it's kind of small, you have it printed also, but here are the activities that we have done in Lander County over the last year. And I'll qualify that a little bit, but there's a couple of chip seal projects, working on cattle guards, the second one is rapid rectangular flashing beacons. That's where we typically put those at a crosswalk for the pedestrians to indicate when they're coming one direction or another to get the attention of the cars that may or may not see them. Flashing beacons for on 305, some wildlife signage installed on 305, work that we were doing or did at I think it's underway at the interchanges as we go through Battle Mountain on I-80. This third to last bullet is listed in here because we advertised and awarded it. This work will start actually this coming summer, so we put it here. It's also on the next slide for upcoming work. So this is one of those big I-80 mill and overlay projects. You see the second to last bullet seems like a short project, but it overlaps into an adjacent county. So 3 miles of working on I-80 where there's concrete, and the scope of this is rubblizing that concrete because it's become too rough to ride on and in too poor a condition to rehabilitate. So we turn it into fancy gravel and overlay it with asphalt. And then that bottom one is what our maintenance team has purchased for use, what they purchased for use for de-icing sand and road salt for the last year. So you can imagine those 3,500 tons and 2,000 tons of material has been placed on roads around the county to keep all the roads safe when it's the appropriate time. Any questions about this?
On your landscape and at these on I-80 west of Battle Mountain,
Mm-hmm.
East Cattle Mountain and SR 305, is that those, like they did in Winnemucca where you guys put the,
Statues or metalwork?
yeah.
Yes, so combination, this work really is making the interchanges look nice, bringing the, the travelers that are coming through the state, giving them the opportunity to see the city, the town, whatever they're coming into, where they have the opportunity to get off of the freeway and enjoy some of the amenities of the town. The additional benefit of that is where we had an interchange that was largely infill, nothing, dirt, sagebrush, driven on, not driven on, dust, erosion concern. We use these projects as double duty to reduce that wind blowing the dust around, erosion that we don't plan on, whether it affects our roadway or not, to do a beautification and also to address drainage and air quality concerns too. Yes. And if you're interested, if that work is going on now but just getting started, we can get you the plans that we have that show what those are going to look like. And we had some public meetings out here too to describe what the intent of those contracts were, but
Does the county have any say in what kind of structures you put up?
absolutely, and that's that public interaction process. So we say public, but also working hand in hand with the town, the county, the whoever is mostly concerned about what NDOT might do at their front doorstep.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, they turn out great, and we have a mind to install something that's going to be relatively easy to maintain. So we're not adding a lot of work to what our maintenance workers have to do, but also looks nice. Like I said, improves drainage. Still safe for travel for vehicles. We don't put anything. We call it the clear zone, where you're off the shoulder, the paved shoulder, the gravel shoulder, so you'll still see that clear area before trees, rocks, or sculptures are added, so it's still safe for the traveling public too. Okay, and so looking forward to our next slide, there's a couple of, this second bullet is the one from the page before, so there's pretty significant investment. This is the projects we have planned for work in the county over the next 2 years. Typically this would be construction season, so we're talking more like calendar year than we would some kind of fiscal year, but these are projects we have planned. You can see the limits there. The project on Highway 50 down on the bottom actually is under one of our pavement preservation projects, so it's not called out specifically, but that one stretches back a little closer to 376 and out the side of Lander County. This is what we have planned, $34.8 million worth of work. Any questions about that?
So on the 305, it rutted really bad right before you get to Austin.
Yes.
Is that gonna be resurfaced this year?
Yes, that's, well, this year or next, I'm not sure which is on indicated here, but yes, it's in the, immediate plan. If there's green or purple in the range of where you're talking about on the map towards the bottom half,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, that's on the plan.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. I go
This-
to water board meetings in Fallon, and I don't take my Camaro that way.
Well, that's a really good indication. I mentioned our pavement quality, pavement condition that we monitor, and that turns into prioritization, that turns into projects. If you've been around the county long enough, you notice that we do sections of road about the same section on a recurring basis. On a road like this, the recurrence would be between 15 and 20 years. We'd hope to come back. Now we would do chip seals in between that to keep the surface waterproof and keep the friction good. But major projects like coming in and addressing that rutting would be every 15 or 20 years. That's very generic. When something is accelerating, you have rutting, you have a pavement condition that is not meeting up to what we predicted it would, it can be accelerated that we would come and address that sooner. So we're I said the recurrence, about half of our state system, about half of our 5,500 centerline miles is designated as national highway system. Between when the interstate was built and when we build new roads, that's a federal designation, the other half isn't. And so the national highway system comes with a requirement that we check it every year, and our capacity to drive that many miles and collect the data leads us to collecting the rest of the information every other year, but this section is NHS, so we're looking at that pavement condition every year, watching it deteriorate, designating it for a project to get that pavement fixed, to get it repaired. All right, next slide. A little bit about an interesting topic around the whole state, if not just Lander County, is what we're doing with passing lane and climbing lanes. So I know this is talked about a lot, depends on where we are and who we're talking to, but concerns with truck movement in the state, concerns with more vehicles just in general, the whole western, probably the whole country, but we care more about the west than the east maybe. Anyway, the impact, just the increase of traffic, people's impatience with driving, with truck speeds, and potentially making unsafe passing maneuvers. So we acknowledge that this is happening, and we have the ability from any county, any city, and from Nevada State Police we collect the crash data reports. They all go into our database. We look at circumstances of crashes. We're using that data right now to do a separate prioritization of where we should put passing lanes and what the priority is. Now, you've seen passing lanes going around. Typically, it's not. I'm not talking about I-80, but on 2-lane roads where we have lots of vehicles, lots of trucks, and unsafe passing happening. We're going after those areas with passing lanes. We're trying to be smart about it. We're looking at vehicle volumes, truck volumes, and frequency of crashes to say, here's where we need it first, and we have a list, basically, of prioritized locations. So that's ongoing. The other thing on part of this title is climbing lanes, and typically that's going to be, it could be 2-lane road where you have trucks and they're going up a hill and they can't even do the speed limit that maybe they were doing the speed limit before. So it could be rural, but you're also seeing it on I-80 back and forth across the whole state, where even a 2-lane existing in one direction needs some help because there's enough vehicles and the trucks are going slow up the hill that we would put in a climbing lane there too. So we're spending some money on climbing lanes. The interesting part about that is what type of money we can use for different projects. And so state money, state gas tax, comes to the highway fund, and we spend it with our best judgment with this prioritization process. Federal money that we send our gas tax back east, and then we have the ability to collect it back and spend it, comes with a lot of restrictions. And I'm sure you've heard this before. We are glad to have more funding for roads from the recent bipartisan infrastructure law. It came with more buckets. So more money, but also more buckets. And the buckets are what type of money is it, and what type of work do we need to do, or what type of work we want to do qualifies for what type of federal funding. And so it's a challenge, but we're up for it. And two of the things that apply to this are we have safety money. We can use safety money that we have. It's not a huge amount, but it can go straight to any of these passing lane projects, not so much the climbing lane. But we have freight money also. And so when we're moving freight across the state, we're worried about what the trucks are hauling. You could think about trains, you can think about air, but we're worried about, we're going to spend that freight money where we can make the truck movements as smooth as possible. That's this climbing lane money, and that's why you're seeing us spend, we have $40 or $50 million of freight money a year, and 25 to 30 of safety, $25 to $30 million of safety money that we're spending per year, and these type of projects are exactly what those are for. So something else you may or may not be aware of. This is something that we're happy to be a part of, very happy. We're talking about safety, and there is funding for NDOT as a Department of Transportation. It's for all the states, but for NDOT specifically to work with local agencies, county, city, RTCs, whichever it might be, and help them develop local road safety plans. And so this is not the map I showed you of the NDOT roads that are in Lander County. This is Lander County roads, city, whatever, Austin, whichever, that wants to develop a safety plan. We have money and consultant help to help those agencies, the county, the city, to develop a plan. And yes, it's develop a plan, but if anybody's in the need, you're talking about, we have these safety needs, not the signs on the side of the road for the bikes, because that's talking about NDOT roads. This is off of our system, but we have the funding and the consultant support on staff right now so that anybody can come to us and say, hey, we have this safety concern, we want to make these safety improvements, can you help? We're saying yes in advance before the question. And so we've gone out and we've made the cities and counties aware of this, just making everyone aware that this is out there, this is something we have the opportunity to do, and we're excited to help out where we can.
Darren, can I add something on that? I'm Colleen Unterbrink, Rural County Liaison, for the record. I just want to add to that with the creation of the local road safety plans. Our acting chief of traffic safety came with us to our workshop here last year and talked about that with county staff. And we are moving forward in the rurals. Elko County last week also just passed a resolution unanimously for their creation of a local road safety plan working with us. And we presented to Eureka County last Friday, and they expressed interest as well. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. So next slide. I talked a little bit about the bipartisan infrastructure law.
Excuse me,
Oh,
before
yes.
before you move on.
Of course.
We were talking about the crash data.
Yes.
And I know this year's been a really bad year for us. Do you have any more current data than the 2020?
Yes, we'll get to you the more current data that we have. We'll send it to you. I don't have it off the top of my head, but yeah, this is basically for reference when we're talking about this is information from the county. So the information we would collect directly would be for our NDOT roads. We can get you that information. And the reason for including this data, which might have been the most recent we had at the time, was here's crashes that are not on our roads, that are on the county roads otherwise. That's an indication of exactly what you just said. There's some work that could potentially be done with one of these local road safety plans. 100%.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So bipartisan infrastructure law, I mentioned more money. The increase to the state, it was about 20% of our federal funding, 20% increase. And that's about half of our funding that NDOT spends in a year, so about 10% increase to our total program. When the headlines came out and the handshaking and the picture taking was going on, the headline said $2.5 billion for Nevada over the next 5 years, and balloons and streamers and confetti, right? But the reality was we were going to get about $2 billion over that 5-year period, and $500 million is nothing to shake a stick at. $100 million a year, excellent. What comes to NDOT out of that after we sub-allocate as required by the law was about $50 or $60 million increase per year. Still, more projects that we can put out, safety, freight, passing lanes, pavement condition, bridge condition. Actually, the bill did have some specific funding just for bridges, a lot more than we've had in the past. In the past, we just use our regular preservation money and take care of bridges, even if it's replacements. So there was $45 million more beyond what I already said per year for bridge replacements and preservation, so that's good. Then you see the headlines and it says Nevada's #1 for bridges again. So we're lucky, right? we see snow and we see cold temperatures, but for most of the year, we're pretty dry and pretty moderate temperatures, which makes your bridges last a really long time and helps them stay in good condition. So we're lucky in that regard, but the downside of when we built all of our bridges typically was about 50 or 60 years ago. I will say all, but a lot of our bridges, and typically bridges are designed to last 75 years. So we're coming up to what I would call a tidal wave of bridge needs, where it's going to catch up to us. We're planning ahead. We're putting out more bridge projects where we're going to start replacing those bridges, the ones that are in the most need of it, even if it's not the most immediate need, so that we don't have a tidal wave of bridge projects take away this funding that we're trying to spend other places. So
I know Nevada has really been working on our wildlife crossings, and we've got some really good ones. Is any of that with your money?
yes, yes, that is. Typically, it depends on where they are and what kind of participation we're doing, what the stimulus was. But yes, definitely wildlife crossings. When you're the driver in the vehicle, whether it's a small vehicle or a large vehicle, and you don't hit something on the road, that's immediate safety money. Wildlife crossings are check the box for safety because you're not having vehicle and animal interaction on the road. So yes, I think we've participated in all of the crossings that
Because
we
I
have
know
right
there
now.
was a new one, around, for the wild horses around the Carson City area, of course, coming back. And then I think 95 got a new one, where the animals can go under.
Yep.
But I didn't know if that was all part of NDOT.
Typically, it's an NDOT project. Could be initiated by some other need indicated by a county or city. Usually, it's crashes with animals on the roads that are indicating that we need one of those crossings. So.
The migration, basically, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So we have, I think, a couple of more of those planned. We put in some down on I-11 when we had I-11 built too, going down into Arizona. And you think, how's an animal going to get over that thing? But you're talking about bighorn sheep down there, so they do what they want, right? They go wherever they want, right? So, yeah, we have those all across the state, and it's a huge safety benefit because the animals don't know. We put our road in their migration route. It wasn't the other way around, right? So.
Yeah, I find it funny, like the bullet point here, additional funds help address increasing costs resulting from inflation. But it's the additional funds that drive the inflation, and I just find it's funny, it's like this money is great for fixing the things that we need, but it's like there's so much money that's spent on foreign interests that just keeps driving the inflation. So it was just a comment, I just found that bullet point funny.
One of our significant challenges, thank you for that comment, because that is one of our significant challenges. We budget, we put all of our projects in order of prioritization. We have an estimate for all those projects. We know what our spending limit's going to be for a year. And we say, these are the projects we're going to put out. We go to our board, we say, these are the projects we're going to put out. We advertise them, and they come in 20, 30, 40% over because of this last year of inflation, right, has exaggerated that. In the past, we were pretty proud of how close we can get with our estimate to what the contractors are going to bid. It's historic numbers, accounting for normal inflation. This year, they've just been blowing us out of the water because of the reality. And yes, what you acknowledged is most of that 50 or 60 million that I said we would get is going to go towards inflation, and we won't be doing extra projects. And yes, one of the other requirements I'll note in the bipartisan infrastructure law is an increase in Buy America requirements. And so with the intent of making more of the products we use for roads in this country, there's increased requirements. Initially, it might make the project more expensive, but supply and demand is going to either have our current suppliers expand their capacity or create new suppliers for a whole range of new products to be built in the country. So there is that benefit too. It could also increase costs. We hope that to be short term and then be cheaper, but we'll see where this inflation goes to. And then, my last slide, just next steps, like I mentioned in our cyclical process, we're working on the projects we have planned and approved by our board from last October. That's a recurring basis. We're gonna come back to the county in 2 or 3 months and say, let's update your list of needs. Let's make sure everything's on here so that we can address them. That's part of our new focus, is let's not let things drop off this or go unaddressed, even if they stay on the list, and have this conversation with the commissioners, with the county, and say, here's why we can do this project, here's when we think we can, or here's why we don't think it's warranted, and have a conversation. So I appreciate the time, we all appreciate the time allowing us to come to you and talk. Happy to answer any more questions now or anytime in the future.
I'm looking forward to our meeting coming up in the spring, so.
Good.
I'm still, let's look at, what was the rate? What's the
So-
rate on requests to completion for last year?
Let's check
I
our
can look
list.
And if you want, so what I can do is also email you this list separately, all of the commissioners, that might help. But you can take a look here to see.
Or do you want us just to copy that?
It's really small print, so I feel bad. So I can email it to you, it's fine. If you want a copy of it, I have an extra copy though.
You don't have nothing there to say we did, the committee
Well-
asked for 80 projects and we did 2 or whatever?
The reason I guess I'm struggling with answering that is because of what Darren explained. When we come and we collect what the concerns and priorities are, there are items that we might refer to as the low-hanging fruit, such as, there was a request for increased wildlife signage, which I know we did. That would be an item that our local district staff can go and accomplish.
Okay.
Then there are other items that are a major process, such as, a intersection evaluation or a request for a sound wall on I-80. Those are things that are gonna be vetted through the One Nevada process, like Darren talked about. So those aren't things that I can say accomplished, but I can tell you they are in process and they're being evaluated.
I'd like to see that.
That would be the best detail, and just like Colleen said,
You
there's a
can break it
couple.
out and put our local crew handled this,
Yes,
these
yep,
things, are these
yep,
other things are handled by
absolutely.
local.
Yes,
I mean, to get participation, there has to be, solution to it too.
yes.
Yes.
And we do have local staff here as well, if you do have any questions for them.
Does the public have any questions or comments? Okay.
Oh,
Good morning, Commissioners. Aaron Martinez at AM Engineering for the record. I just had a couple questions because I participated in this workshop for 2 years now. And there's a lot of investment that the county does have in its staff and everybody at these meetings. And so I was a little disheartened to see some of our projects weren't on there. And so to answer your question, Commissioner, I didn't see any of our actual pinpointed initiatives on their list for the 23-24 FY. So that kind of concerned me. You had mentioned, Deputy Director, that, safety is one of the higher priorities in any project that comes through. It's an automatic yes before it's even asked. So we'd like to re-ask. And one of those was the Safe Routes to School extension that we're doing. We have our Phase 3 project on the west side of 305. We were asking NDOT to participate potentially in some cost sharing or whatever they're willing to do to help us do a pedestrian access along 305 right here, extending from one of our more populated areas, getting across the bridge over to the school. So I didn't see that project on there, and I would hope that maybe you'd reconsider that. The other project that's been brought up to us as a large safety concern is in Austin. Basically, Lander County did a shared partnership agreement that extended sidewalk up through Austin, and it stopped basically at NDOT right away near 3rd Street. I know the local districts are doing their best job. They got more miles than budget, so I get it. But if there was another project you might be willing to consider, we'd ask that you look at the Austin sidewalk extension. We really only have one primary thing that the kids go to there, and it's the pool and the park right there. And so these kids are walking up Highway 50. All the traffic seems to speed up right there, and we're asking for some sidewalk to go from 3rd Street and perpetuate up NDOT right away to the pool area. There could be some private property issues with Lander County, and they might be willing to do some cost sharing, but those 2 particular projects were of a major safety concern for residents, and I wanted to bring those up. But Colleen honestly has been great. We love working with her, and look forward to your next workshop. Thank you.
Good, thank you, and we'll include.
I will, hey, Aaron, sorry, just to add, we do have a new, trying to think of her title, Rebecca Capular, who has taken over our, active transportation, and so she will be in touch with you regarding safe routes to school. Okay?
Look forward to it.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
That's, I would, thank you.
Do we have any more, questions from the public or any discussion?
I do have one comment, I would like to thank them. I know that a lot of their process moves slow and a lot slower than we would like, but, John particularly has been really good to work with here locally. When we call him, we have cattle guards that are maybe theirs, maybe ours, we aren't sure. He gets clearance from whoever's above him to, get the county out there where we can clean these out and keep some of the traveling public safe on, even if it is on their roads, it's still our traveling public as well. And then also thanks for the kids crossing over here by the Maverick. And something that the commission doesn't know about is, out here at Golden Gate, the access to Golden Gate is clearly a problem if you come over that overpass at any sort of speed, and there's no turn lane. NDOT's been great and donated a ton of their engineers' time to work with the county and, the business owner to create that. So, hopefully here in the near future, we see a pullout to access that. So there are a few things they've worked with us that aren't necessarily on this plan that we definitely appreciate. But maybe we have to become a little bit more squeaky on the wheel to get some of these other projects that Aaron spoke to.
Thank you, Bert, that's good to know. All right, well, thank you.
Good, thank you, appreciate the time.
We'll take a short break, let's say 10, 15 minutes.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order, and we'll go into item 6. For discussion of possible action to create an ad hoc committee, which will be a temporary committee to specifically focus on the wild horse concerns in Lander County.
Thank you, Commissioners. Jerry Annis. My name is Jerry Annis. Well, first, I want to invite, there's a whole bunch of people in the room here that are interested in this subject, so I'd like them to move up to the front row in case you have any questions of them. This can be a real short item for you if you like. This request is coming from your Public Land Use Advisory Committee, your PLUAC, and we all really appreciate you and Bert getting it on the agenda. Recently I personally experienced two items, 2 bits of information that brought this forward. One is that the Department of Interior in Washington D.C. has, they say, postponed all horse gathers in the United States for this fiscal year. They had a number of them in this area that were on the books, and they've been canceled. Then secondly, a little while back, I was at the last Public Land Use Advisory Committee meeting, and your advisor from the Western Counties Alliance, Ken Brown, brought that up. He said, nothing's happening. You should consider putting together a coalition to move this issue forward. And that's when the PLUAC asked to be put on this agenda. So by my count, in Lander County, you have 5 committees that are interested and involved in agriculture and natural resources. You have the Conservation District, the Mule Deer Habitat Enhancement Committee, the NDOW's County Advisory Board, the CAB for Wildlife, the N6 Grazing Board, and the PLUAC. And I believe we've got members from all those committees here today to promote this idea. Dan Tamara, the chairman of the PLUAC, was going to be here, but he was unable to. He had an emergency come up, as well as Bert and Martin Paris, who are very interested in this issue also. And in that regard, Bert Paris is on what's called the Nevada Rangeland Resource Commission, and they put out videos often, on a regular basis, that address, natural resources in the state. They just came out one that is called, Out of Balance, and it's specifically about, the wild horse and, burro issues. And Bert's a big part of that. Bert Paris is, part of that. So, winding up, a definition of an ad hoc committee is that it's focused and it is short-term. So the proposal is that the county commissioners approve the formation of an ad hoc committee that would focus on this issue, wild horses in particular, and burros, and then convene this committee probably with a representative from each one of these 5 committees that has been named, and then get back to you in a short period of time with a short list of means to recommendations to you, for you to consider to move this issue forward. At this point, it's kind of dead in the water. We need help. The resource needs help. And it's not just the ranchers' issue. It's hunters, anyone that enjoys the outdoors. You recently had Bobby Jones from Endow here talking about the economic impact of natural resources in the state. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions.
Commissioners, any questions?
Off of that ad hoc, one thing I agree with is it needs to move, because it seems like we get these committees and they drag on and on and on. I'd like to see what the focus is. Like, first off, I think you need to look at is what's within the county's power to do. I mean, the horses definitely are a problem. That was a conversation I asked Brian when the sheep got hit. It's like you drive to Austin and you know, the colder it gets, I never realized there was so many horses, you know, not going out in the mountains all the time. So things like, I'd like a quick report back on what we even have within our power to do.
That's a good point, excuse me, that's a good point, Mike, is that's the thing, this has been an issue many years back, and it's like BLM holds the power. We can form committees, we can discuss, and it's an issue for ranchers, for wildlife. These horses destroy our habitat. We already have 5 boards. We have a conservation board that you guys can meet and discuss the issues. I don't think the solution, forming another committee, is going to be the solution. The solution is building a coalition or having some teamwork with BLM to try to get something where they're thinking it's like, yes, that they want to help us. I don't necessarily think just becoming more government and another committee is going to solve a thing. We've been fighting for this for the last several years, and not a thing, because BLM holds the ultimate power.
Well, that's a very good point, Brian. I want to be clear that the local district and even the state office is on our side. This is a national problem, but I would think that the proposal is that this ad hoc committee get back in a month. Get back to you in a month with recommendations. Get together, brainstorm, think outside of the box, communicate with those that have been in this fight. We have, for instance, we have a great resource just over in Winnemucca. Former Commissioner Jim French has been there since day one, 1971. And he knows the paths that have been tried and are dead ends. We've already talked to him about coming to the next PLUAC meeting. So it's got to start somewhere.
Well, answer me this, Jerry, is what is this committee going to do that conservation can do, that wildlife can do, that public lands can do? Like you said, we already have 5 boards, 5 committees that can address this issue. What is this board going to do any different?
You know, actually, the way I see it is, and you're both absolutely right, we have all been a part of this for so many years, but if they want to do, and the recommendation is coming through several of these committees saying, let's just get one to focus on this, and we will focus only on this, because it's like us. we have more things that we focus on than we even know what to do with half the time. I don't think it would hurt anything to at least put together the committee, and with that focus, if there's something that they discover we can do, even if it's more education on something, I don't know, but I don't see anything wrong in doing an ad hoc, of course, means temporary, so how temporary do we want it to be? I'd say, we've got these people interested, and it's a main problem, let's go for it. What do we got to lose?
Do we have any comment from any other people that sit on boards that would like to speak?
My name's Amber Ayton. For the record, I'm with the Lander County Advisory Board for Managing Wildlife, and I'm also on the Mule Deer Enhancement Program with NDOW. I did get some information here from the local office on just the herd numbers that are in, well, I'll give these to you. The green boxes represent the herds in Lander County. And on the back of the map shows more than just Lander County. If you look over to where it says AML, that's your appropriate management levels, and you have a high and a low. And just for example, the South Shoshone herd, which is just south of here heading down 305 that you can see not too far past Mill Creek, almost all the way down to the Narrows on the left-hand side of the highway.
Okay, but what we really want to know is, why do you want the committee?
Because just to help possibly get all these committees together to brainstorm some
To
ideas.
focus on
just to
this
focus
one
on
item.
the horses, yep.
Okay.
And
Because
to
we
see-
understand the concerns.
Right.
We've looked at the numbers for a long time. And we've even, some of us have even been part of some of the gathers that they have done in the different areas. But what you can do as a committee, I'm not real sure of, but I like the idea of at least you're focused on one thing, where all our other committees are focused on several things. So let's see if we can address it, and maybe something new will come out.
So
Never know.
if we agree to this ad hoc committee, do we wanna put a time on it and?
We could, but I'm
report
gonna
back to
ask-
the commission on?
Sorry, he is in mediation hearing at this time.
So Commission, I do have a couple comments, because I've been, and I serve on the Mule Deer Committee as well with Jerry and with Amber when I do show up, but I'll tell you, the issue with this is to be quite frank, it's just a terrible waste of everybody's time. You show up and I hear what Jerry's saying, that the local BM cares, but if they really care, they should show up to these meetings and be a part of this. How many meetings have we had and had any presence from them involving this? And that's where the buck stops, truly. We need to figure out how to create some sort of partnership with them. They say it's federal, you call the higher levels and they say, hey, your local jurisdiction needs, and there's there's this, but we can't get everybody in the same room to discuss the facts and get whatever's out on the table. The sad thing about what's about to happen with this wonderful winter we're having, with the drought we've had for all these years, nobody can beat the drought, and the horses have been out there beating it up. We're having a wonderful winter, and if you were to fly over headed to Austin, we're going to lose 50% of that horse herd this year. They are stuck in snow drifts. They are withered down to bones. There's already colts dying everywhere, and it'd almost be worth going and taking pictures and maybe sending some of that out to touch some of the emotional strings that these horses seem to have with people, to get some sort of movement happening. But if we don't figure out a way to bring the local BLM to the table, the very first meeting I was on with the Mule Deer Enhancement Committee, I said, where's the BLM? I mean, they're a big part of all of our land here in Nevada. And we, to my knowledge, they now have somebody that's showing up to some of these meetings, but it's not of any substance. And without the substance and the BLM willing to move forward with us, we can create all these committees, we can have these talks, and feel good, but all of us have a lot of things to do with our time, and I don't feel without them at the table that it's any quality use of our time. And I mean that with as much respect as I can say it with.
Is this something the Porter Group could help us with? I mean, there are lobbyists, right?
Yeah, they may be able to. It comes back to a funding issue, and federal funding right now, there was just, and I have a list of the funds, there's $500 billion just put towards feral horses, and the problem is we're in the third year now of what a 5-year plan is in Lander County. If they ran out of, we have the funds to gather horses, but we don't have the funds to feed them. So it does us no, so that's canceled the gather for this year. Next year will be year 4. At 5, we have to restart the whole process all over again. Even though it's already been approved, we have to start the whole process over again, and we start the same cycle. In the meantime, all these horses are still out there dropping colts every spring. So the numbers just keep, you see the process. We need NDOW, who's supposed to be the steward of all of our wild game, to be on our side and come here with some substance to help us out with these committees, and the BLM to step forward with them. So I just wanted the commission to be aware and the public to be aware that we aren't just sitting idle on our hands here not doing anything. We've done what we can, but we got to have them play on the other side too.
Thank you, Bert.
Well,
I
Excuse me,
think one
excuse me.
thing
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
is, going off of that, I support the ad hoc and quick, see what you can pull up, because we don't need another, I mean, it's just another committee. You can't take any of, I mean, it can be a presentation here, quick, and that, of what we can do, what we can't do, because if we're gonna hit another dead end, it's a waste of time,
that's correct, Mike.
you know?
And
So, I mean, I'm fine, you got, I support it to try it, but like I said, I've had a month for a report back. Like I said, I don't even know what what's even in the power, and maybe you guys, but I think your focus is gonna be what Bert says. You're gonna have, you better get, if the county don't have no say in anything like that, if it's down to, tranquilizers to make them sterile, I mean, you hear it, horses ain't my most important thing, so I just read bits and pieces, but it has to be quick and over. It has to be fast, for my opinion.
I would suggest 6 weeks. I totally agree. That gives you a little overlap to make it to your meeting and do it. Yeah.
Okay, we had, Louis, you had something to say?
You probably don't wanna hear anything I've gotta say, but I've been on the PLUAC board for a good number of years. I sit on 5 county boards. On my last contact, we have some BLM guys come to the meetings, but trying to get something out of those guys, there's no commitment. It's like pulling teeth. The last time, 2 weeks ago, when I talked to them, they said, we need more money so we can hire more people to put them into a study, which will take about 2 years to address the horses. I agree with Bert, it's a waste of time. But we've got to, what we're asking the commissioners to do is to give us some backing somehow. We put the committee together. I drive through these horses. I drove through over 300 head of horses this morning coming up here.
Right.
But when these BLM guys tell me that they need more money to hire more people to do a study, the studies have been made, the allotment numbers have been set. They know it's their job supposedly to do it. I was involved in horse gathering when I was with the Forest Service too, but everybody just drops the ball. Nobody wants to commit to it.
So Lloyd, you're saying you're in favor of the ad hoc committee?
You bet.
And then, so what do you feel that the ad hoc committee is going to be able to do that we haven't done thus far?
We need the backing real strong from you guys.
Okay.
And let's be able to go to the county committee, or go to the BLM and say, look, these horses are a problem, it's your problem, we're here to help. He told me, he said, we need a whole bunch of volunteers, besides the money, and hire more people.
Well, you've had the support from this commission. On this front, we've been strong, an advocate against these wild horses. So I don't want to paint the picture that we haven't been behind this. We have been behind it, and we have been fighting for it.
How can we put the commissioners and the ad hoc committees together as one unit? I agree with Bert. I mean, trying to get these BLM guys to come to the meeting, when they come, the questions I asked him at our last meeting, he presented 6 items on his agenda, and he couldn't address any of them. I've got no report on it.
Yeah, I don't see what it's gonna hurt. I just wanna know that if we agree to formulate, that we actually have a site of like, what are we going to do? And then and that's what I want you to see, is that, what are you going to do that we haven't already done? I mean, I guess that job's gonna be up to you guys, but it's
Correct.
just, I just don't want it to be a wasted effort, right? Okay, we're gonna form this committee. And then what?
Amy Nelson, for the record.
I'd like some direction.
I sit on 2 of these committees, and my perspective tends to be different because I'm like Mike, I don't know anything about wild horses, but I do know that we should focus on local control. That's kind of been my theme for the last couple of years in every way, shape, and form. And Lander County has to see where our local control stops and the BLM starts. And I believe we need to really analyze that with these
So this would be part of
committees.
your research.
Yes, that would
Okay.
be part of this committee's research, is how much Lander County control do we have over this problem that is affecting our economy, our safety, and everything in between. So that's kind of where my theme was with it.
Well, I think you've got enough interested people that care enough about it. They aren't going to identify what our problem is. We know what our problem is. They're gonna try and think outside the box and see what else we might be able to do.
Exactly.
And I think that's a good thing. I'm so glad you're all interested. And I think we should go ahead with that. I don't know about 6 weeks. I mean, you might, depending how many meetings you're gonna do, but I'm okay for, 6 months or something like that.
Thank you, Patsy.
And I wanted to check legally,
Yeah.
is there any problem with forming an ad hoc, or do we have to advertise, and so I didn't know since our counselor's not here.
They are gonna have to follow the open meeting laws and everything else, and they would, I believe this board would have to appoint the
Now,
members.
would an ad hoc committee have to follow that, like?
Yeah, it's a committee.
Like the
The
regular?
committee absolutely has to follow
Okay.
the meeting law.
Do we have to have a commissioner on the ad hoc committee? I mean, I've never formed an ad hoc committee before, so I don't know.
Jerry?
Two quick things. One, thank you, Patsy, ad hoc. You could follow, this was a suggestion, but thinking about these comments, the PLUAC could actually focus for a couple of meetings, and interested public could have input. So that's probably an option. They follow open meeting laws.
So
It's
the
already
ones that are
there.
interested in sitting on the committee could just come to the PULAC meetings and
Yes.
you handle it on the
Yes.
PULAC.
That's
That's kind of my point to begin with. We
That
have all
sounds
these
good.
boards that could accomplish the same thing that we're trying to set an ad hoc. Wayne?
Unfortunately, Mr. Schaefer's not here, but I think the first thing we need to explore is the BLM's legal obligations to maintain the herd management areas quantities. And if you look at any of these herd management areas, the quantities are exceeded by gross, vastly huge numbers. You know, you're not talking 100%, you're talking 500% more than what's supposed to be there. And I think the legality of holding their feet to the fire needs to be the first thing that needs to be asked of our district attorney, to find out where we stand on the legality of the BLM's obligations.
Well, this is exactly my point again, is that the PLUAC board, these are the questions the PLUAC board should be asking, right? I mean, this is what they're dealing with, is our public lands, and these horses are a nuisance to our public lands. So,
We basically got the whole PLUAC board here at this meeting today. And my question is, okay, let's form the ad hoc committee, we get one going, we can handle it. I vice chair that one. If we get a committee like that, what can you do to help us out that way? Cause the BLM keeps telling me, we need more money. If we put the committee together, is the county willing to back us to a certain extent?
well, first off, we need to find out, they say money, okay, what is this money going to do? Identify your targets.
They get millions and nothing's being done with it, and legal representation, I mean, you're gonna that's taken on unending pocketbook. I mean, that's, like I
Agreed.
said, that's,
And it's-
hard work, it's deep already, I think you're gonna hit a wall, but like I said, I support it, I commend you for gathering up and realizing the problem, because it is putting citizens in jeopardy. We have to think about that too. It's tough, because there's people taking and doing it in their own hands. They got, what, 6, 8 horses they're investigating right now that got shot over in Elko County. Eureka had a couple down there. I mean, you see it all the time. People are just taking it in. It's just, they're sick. But,
Can I?
man, to say what, I think that you guys find out what we can do, and we decide what the back end is, or I guess I can only speak for me.
Right.
But
I support you
there
guys.
is a
I think we can all agree, everybody in this room can agree that they are a problem, and we need to do something. Jerry?
Point of clarification, Bert had a number. And the current, 15 years ago, Wild Horse and Burro was a $60 million, not $500 million, dollar expense. Today it's $80 million. Where the 500 million may have come from is that I believe it's the Inflation Reduction Act contains $500 million specifically for natural resources.
Yeah, the western half of the
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
all the states.
Exactly, and the state lead stated at a recent meeting I was at that it's already been said. The only reason we've stopped doing what we're doing is because we can't afford to feed anymore. So looking at those issues right there is one thing that this committee would definitely do. So, yeah.
80% of the wild horses in the United States are in our backyard, in Nevada. 80% of horses are in Nevada. So something has to be done here, and I'm sure this committee, we'll get something to you.
Yeah.
So just so we're back on the track of the committee, I'm not sure if you guys wanna go forward with the committee or not, knowing that you have to follow the open meeting law. You guys will have to have, the meeting minutes and, schedule meeting, or if you guys just wanna include this as part of, one of these other boards that you guys are all already a part of.
I thought that was a great idea. What Patsy said is like, you have these PLUAC meetings, every member, a designated member from these other boards should sit in on it, and they should have an agendized topic to focus on exactly what we're talking here, and then they can come back to this commission and report.
I agree. I'm just getting back to if you're gonna form a committee that, that has to follow all that, it may be much easier. You already have secretaries, you already have all these everything already in place for these other boards that you add an item, and then collectively, come together on that and try to address it at that angle. But I really gotta tell you, if we can't form some sort of relationship over here, with our local BLM, and, we can sit in this room and tell each other that we're all working for each other, but at the end of the day, if you don't show up at the table, you're on the menu. And I got that from you, Miss Patsy.
Those are all good points, sir. I think there's three members of the PLUAC, or two here. Wayne and Louis, what do you feel about just doing it through the PLUAC?
Well, I think it's a great idea that you wanna focus on that, but if we don't, and I don't think we could form the committee today anyway without, unfortunately, a little bit of legal advice, why
We scared him
we
off.
don't have that. Well, if we'd known he was leaving, we could have jumped ahead or something, but.
Well, he had a prior legal.
Well, I'm sure it's important. I mean, I'm not discounting that.
His report
I'm just
shows,
saying
Commissioner,
it
sorry.
leaves us in the dust here. So, if PULAC would do that, and then you folks attend those meetings, and you focus, really, one of your main focuses is on wild horses for the next couple meetings, and then I think we'll be able to rattle some cages, because we haven't just focused on that one thing. It's been one of several other important items, and I like the idea of focusing to get other opinions, and.
Right.
And maybe what we can do as well
It's
is.
blue sky thinking when you've got all these people that care,
No, it is excellent.
and you really do focus in. So if that would be okay with everybody, let's do that.
Another thing that we could do too is we could give direction to Bert, and then maybe we can have another commissioner with Bert go and actually have some sit-down meetings with BLM.
Oh, I think after this committee comes back, we're gonna do that indeed, and if we have to apply some national pressure, we know how to do it. I'm in.
We meet monthly, an agenda goes out, and we comply with the open meeting laws right down the line.
Right, first Monday.
It's in place. We just put it on our agenda. The BLM and the Forest Service are both on our agenda anyway. So we can narrow that down to a specific item on the agenda.
Great.
We've had a gentleman from the BLM show up the last 3 meetings, and he has been very informative and very forthright, and I foresee a good relationship.
Can I just, if you guys are gonna speak, just please state your name for the record so that the recording, we know who is, and come to the front too, so this thing can hear you, if you don't mind. Paula, you have a comment or a question?
Paula Tamara for the record. I think Bert's idea of calling Chris Porter and having the Porter Group maybe help us with the BLM on the federal level would be a
really great idea.
I think we can
They've
do
been
that after
very
we get our
helpful.
reports, absolutely, thank you,
Thank you.
Paula.
Is there any more public comment or questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
I think
Appreciate the
Paul
time.
hit on the right idea.
Yes.
Lobby Washington to get rid of the,
Right.
you know, help us.
All right, we'll move into item 7. Presentation by Project Hydro Generate regarding proposed hydrogen fuel production facility in Lander County. This sounds intriguing.
Michael Chase for the record. I'm Tyler Borsch for the record. I'm the president of Battle Mountain Hydrogen. Oh,
Can't hear him. There we go.
Excellent.
Cool.
I'll introduce you.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Did somebody say something?
I think they have trouble
Can't hear him.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
There we go. All right, Mr. Chair, fellow commissioners, and the rest of Lander County. I'm Sheldon Mudd, the Executive Director of the Northeastern Nevada Regional Development Authority. Our job is to enhance the economic environment in all of the region and obviously to create diversification within the economy, variety in jobs, good high-paying jobs, essentially try to bring opportunity to our local communities. Now, I will tell you, in the last 4 years, my job has been very difficult due to national events, politics, etc. And in the last 2 years, it's been nearly impossible. But things are looking up, things are optimistic. In the last year, in 2022, we got about 38 solid leads from companies who actually had money, good ideas, and were contacting our offices saying, hey, what do you have? Where could we potentially land? Out of that 38, 4 companies actually put boots on the ground. They came out and looked at property in one of our 4 counties that we represent. One of those companies, or these gentlemen right here, I met them several months ago and actually was introduced from another regional development authority. I think they've got a good project here that could potentially change the whole dynamic of Battle Mountain's economy and hopefully act as a catalyst for future growth within this industry. So this morning I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Tyler Borsch and Mr. Michael Chase. We call them Project Hydro Generate because we try to maintain confidentiality, but they will be public today explaining their project and what they would like to do in Lander County, and hopefully just get verbal support from the commission and of course from the community as well. That's all yours.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Sheldon, thanks a lot. Like I said, I'm Tyler Borsch. This is my partner, Michael Chase. We're here with Redstone Capital, and I'm the president of Battle Mountain Hydrogen. What we're going to be doing is building a 20 metric ton per day, 100% green liquid hydrogen facility here in Battle Mountain. So we'll have our presentation up on the side here and you'll be able to see it. We can get through. Here, so like I mentioned, we're a fully funded $560 million, 20 ton per day green hydrogen facility to be built here in Battle Mountain. We're converting low-cost renewable energy through a 280 megawatt solar farm into liquid hydrogen. It'll be the biggest green hydrogen project in Nevada and the biggest as of today in the United States. Like I said, we're a fully funded project financed by Redstone Capital, a Nevada-based company that has been owning, developing, and building oil, gas, and energy projects since the 80s. Hydrogen sold and produced here in Battle Mountain would be sold to Air Products, an industrial gas supplier, to go into grid injection, transportation, and manufacturing. So, Redstone Capital, we're a Nevada company, started in 1982. We have global industry experience in owning, developing, and building and operating energy projects. This will be our first renewable green project. So Galileo is our another one of our finance partners. It's an asset management bank strictly focused on placing in renewable energy. Now, I'm Tyler Borsch. I'm the president of Battle Mountain Hydrogen, and this is my partner, Michael Chase. So for years, we've been in sales, real estate, manufacturing, navigating regulatory landscapes, And we have one notable exit in the consumer packaged goods space, so we've been around the block before. So Battle Mountain, it's a small town here in Nevada. Historically, a lot of the industry out here is mining and things like that. So we're not leaving the historical industry profile too much. We're staying in resource generation, although now we're trying to not affect the environment while we generate our resources. So Battle Mountain is the perfect place to build our project, being right directly in the middle of Nevada. And we'll go into it in some of the other slides, but Nevada has the best solar radiance in the entire of the United States. Northern Nevada even better than Southern Nevada because of our little bit cooler temperatures. We can get the best solar efficiency anywhere in the country. Being dead in the middle of Northern Nevada puts us in routes where hydrogen is already used. So hydrogen is used big in mines, like I said, grid injection in power plants that we're decommissioning to be from fossil fuel fired to renewable fired. So our gas will go into this process, replace fossil fuels or natural gases with our zero carbon fuel alternative. So this is our property here. We have 939 acres just southeast of Battle Mountain. We're right on the highway here. And yeah, so right outside Battle Mountain, highway located on the yellow dots, and we have all of the utility lines to service our property already. Water, power, everything we need. We don't need to build anything off-site. So electrolysis is the process of splitting water molecules with energy. We've been electrolyzing hydrogen for a long time. Now we're going to send clean energy into it to have a zero carbon production process. Cummins builds the electrolyzers that we're going to use. They have the highest penetration of electrolyzers in the hydrogen market today, and they've been building power technology for over 100 years. So our liquefaction plant, this is what takes the gas H2 and turns it into a liquid. So it can be transported, used where it's needed, when it's needed, and we can send it as far as it has to. So the liquefaction plant is about 2 of the 900 acres, and it's the only visual impact that the community will see on our property when we're in operations. So our solar tech here, we use Adani modules. Adani is one of the largest solar producers on Earth, and the main reason we want to use these panels is to circumvent using any Chinese technology in our product. Because of the human rights violations, import tariffs, their labor laws, we feel it undermines American interests, and because of that, we're not going to use any Chinese technology in our entire project. Here, like I was talking about the energy generation potential in Nevada specifically, so we have the highest solar radiance in all of the United States. Even compared to California, our neighbor to the west, we have 20% greater sun. Compared to the East Coast, we have 40% greater sun, and we only get about 25% of the precipitation that's seen everywhere else. Here's our solar layout. So it's going to be a 280 megawatt nameplate facility. What we're going to do with our solar that's different than other solar panel installations you see in the area is we're using a novel technique called ground mounting. That means our panels will be mounted flat on the ground. Instead of 6 feet up, will be 6 inches, and we use 70% less of the ground disturbance by doing that, 33% less of the actual space needed to get the same amount of energy, and being only 6 inches off the ground, you can't see it.
So I have this in my pack. I didn't see it up there yet, but it says solar layout. So this blue, is this all solar panels?
The blue is going to be the solar, yeah, basically.
So that's also that 980 acres of solar panels?
It's solar panels, yeah. And like I said, it's a little smaller square footage than what would generally be needed to get the same amount of energy, and you're not going to be able to see any of our solar panels because they'll be mounted flat. The only thing you'll see is our liquefaction plant.
So they lay perfectly flat like this?
Perfectly flat, yep, just a few inches above the ground, so we don't even need a thick fence to prevent the eyesight. You really won't be able to see it. It will reflect also, so it will be nearly invisible to the community. So all the technology that we use has been proven commercially viable, deployed at scale, presenting no technology risk. So we use class-leading, industry-leading technology to electrolyze and liquefy and produce our energy. The solar company, I said, is the largest solar manufacturer on earth where we get our panels from. Cummins has been producing power technology for over 100 years, and this liquefaction technique has been proven safe and effective for over 50. So the environmental and hydrologic impact. So we really don't want to negatively impact your environment, or the community, or the water for that matter. So, like I mentioned, we use 70% less surface disturbance with the ground mount solar. Instead of mounting each individual panel on a tracker or a racking system, they're mounted together, so the amount into the ground is significantly reduced, trenching is significantly reduced, and our construction time is significantly reduced. So what might take 50, 60 weeks for a traditional utility scale solar installation to be done, we can get done in 26 weeks.
So Tyler, you still have to do an environmental impact study.
Yep, so our environmental review and impact study is currently being done by Newfields Engineering, another Nevada-based environmental engineering firm.
And you expect it?
So we're 30 of 90 days into that. We're 1/3 into it. It should be here in 2 months. We'll have our environmental review ready for submission, and that's what we'll use to go and get our UEPA, so our Environmental Protection Agency permits. And now to touch on the water, so it is a highly water intensive process. We use 80,000 gallons of water a day, but in comparison to some of the golf courses in Las Vegas, they use about 2 billion gallons of water a day. We're significantly less than that. It's equivalent to about a 25 bay car wash. But we don't have to treat any of our water after the process to get soaps and chemicals out like a car wash would. So we're going to use the water in our process, the first step is reverse osmosis and deionization. Because we do that, we're going to be able to clean up non-potable, arsenic-contaminated water in the community and bring it back up to drinking water standards. Now, we consume the water in our process, and then we vent our oxygen into the atmosphere. Oxygen will recombine with atmospheric hydrogen and fall as clean water again, making a sustainable water cycle.
Tyler, do you have a comparison for us on the amount of oxygen? Like it would replace a 20,000 tree forest or something like that? I mean,
That's going to come in our environmental review, so I will have that for you, and it will compare against, how many trees would be planted to give out. It's about 10 tons a day of oxygen, which sounds like a lot. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge amount, but it is clean oxygen. There's no impurities that are going to be vented into the atmosphere that could fall as rain and then leach into the groundwater. So community impacts and benefits, there's a minimal increase in traffic with our project. So in operations, we'll have 4 trucks a day servicing our offtake schedule. That'll be all the traffic apart from employees on and off the site. There'll be about 20 to 40 high-paying, skilled jobs. And in accordance with the Inflation Reduction Act, we have to pay at or above market wages for everybody involved with the project. So all the jobs we bring to Battle Mountain will be technical, skilled jobs, and high-paying. But with no visual impact from our solar, it won't be an impedance on the community, it won't be an eyesore for everybody, and we only vent oxygen, no emissions. Benefits to the community are we want to procure our water from the county, so a source of revenue through water to the county, high volume job creation through construction, which has apprenticeship requirements, and like I said, the wage requirements to be in accordance with the IRA. We have about $6.2 million a year that we'll place locally wherever possible in wages, insurance, service contracts, and operations. So the project participants, like I said, we represent Redstone Capital. Our group has been building, developing oil and gas projects since 1982. Right now, we just broke ground on a helium plant in the Four Corners area of Arizona. So we've been doing it for a long time. We're experts in it. Now, we're gonna use Kiewit Construction as the main project EPC. Kiewit's able to bond the entire project, and they have the experience, again, building gas plants, it's what they do. We have Holland and Hart, it's a Nevada-based attorney. Bryce Allstate is his name. He's gonna take care of the contracts, permitting support, and things like that. Newfields Engineering, another Nevada-based company, does our environmental review, our environmental impact study. I know we were talking about the horses earlier, so they're gonna be looking at migratory pathways, any type of soil disturbance or archaeological disturbance on our site. Now, we hope the unincorporated township of Battle Mountain will be our host and a participant in our project for hosting us. We're using the Nevada Development Authority to kind of put the project together, make sure we're dealing with the right contractors, making sure we're able to source local labor, local O&M, local insurances, and things like that, so our money stays in Nevada. Now, NV Energy, they're gonna be a supplemental power producer to keep our plant online. So anytime we can't produce enough renewable energy, the grid will serve us backup power. So thinking ahead, we're gonna be, as I mentioned, the largest in Nevada, the largest in the state, and one of the first. We're gonna pioneer America's green energy transition. And with that, we hope to attract ancillary services, other industries around the green energy transition and replace some of our highly polluting opportunities with low carbon opportunities.
So that was one of my questions. So there's not an existing plant anywhere in the US?
Not an existing 100% green hydrogen plant. So the way that we're doing it now, or previously, was carbon capture or steam methane reformation, where we take fossil fuel plants and we extract hydrogen from the emissions. Now, there's one in northern Las Vegas. It's a 10-ton a day, and they're using wind power to serve it. They've broken ground already, but again, it's 50% the size, and it's based off of a decommissioned fossil fuel plant. This will be the first one purpose-built to electrolyze and liquefy green hydrogen.
On your map here, just so I understand exactly where this property is, where exactly is this? Is it this way or this way?
So, I don't know my bearings where I'm right here, but our neighbor is that Golden Gate Petroleum property that was mentioned earlier. So it's just southeast of town.
That's
So it's
old
going out like
eight-
towards Tamara Ranch? Out that
That's
way?
old 8A running right through the middle of it there.
Okay, so it's like you're going out to
Correct,
towards
yes.
Tamara on both
Both
sides of the
sides.
road? Okay.
Mhm.
So how's that gonna affect the county wells that they just punched out in that valley?
Hey, Tom, can you, when you have comment, just come up and state your name for the record and just so it can hear you clearly? Thank you.
I'm a new guy.
Come on in.
He's got a question.
Okay, my name's Tom Kurkowski. I just have a question about punching the wells. How are they gonna affect the wells that we just drilled south of town? You know,
So-
you talk about high arsenics and stuff. The county just drilled this last few years.
Yeah.
Brand new wells, so.
So that's one thing, we don't want to draw off any of the community's wells that are serving potable water. We're going to use the wells that have been placed out of commission, that exist, but we can't draw the water from it because of the pollution inside of it. So that's how we hope to mitigate the water issue while not affecting the community's potable water.
Okay, how many decommissioned wells do we have?
5, I believe,
Five? Okay.
and they're all within city limits.
Okay.
We don't have city limits within the town boundary here. They're all the high arsenic. We're using well 6, I believe, currently. We're putting in the arsenic treatment plant. So if they were going to do that, it would require them to pipe the water from one of these wells in town directly to them. And I think that if the math's right, it's about 50 to 60 gallons a minute is what they would need. If I got that right, maybe I'm
I
off.
believe it's 80,000 gallons a day we need, so it's a lot of water, but like I said, in comparison to some other things like a golf course, and I can, I'll send you some information.
You said 2 billion gallons?
2 billion gallons to run a Nevada golf course.
Garrett, can you hear me back there? Sean, how much water do you guys use a day when you were running your hay farms out there?
I'm gonna relay your message.
Okay, thank you.
How much water do you use to run going out and down? How many gallons a day do you use at the farm? Think about that. Estimate. About 8,000 gallons a minute.
thousand gallons a minute, wow.
Wow.
Okay, that gives me a better idea, I understand that, so yeah.
Okay.
So not a lot of water in terms of that.
In comparison to, yeah, agriculture especially, yeah, we're significantly lower.
It's about, 100 acre feet.
Jerry, if you comment, can you just make sure you state your name for the record, please?
Just to help you out, Commissioner Aaron Martinez, for the record, it'd be equivalent to bringing you about 107 houses online to your municipal system, to give you an idea.
107 houses,
Yes.
okay?
So the trucks that you have, when this is all finished, you said about 4 a day,
4 a day.
and they are carrying the liquefied
Hydrogen.
oxygen?
Yeah.
And where are they taking them? Where are your customers?
So our customer is an industrial gas supplier. Air Products, they're a multinational IG supplier. They supply fossil fuels, oxygen to hospitals, hydrogen already into mines and semiconductor manufacturing, concrete making, steel making, things like that. So because they're our customer, they'll absorb 100% of our output and send it to their customers wherever they may be. So in Nevada specifically, a lot of the mines use hydrogen to power their big vehicles. That's going to be a large customer for Air Products where their hydrogen will go. So we, as Battle Mountain Hydrogen, as the plant operators, are agnostic to where the hydrogen goes. That's going to be up to Air Products. Although in the area we're in now, we already use a ton of hydrogen in both directions. Into California, there's a huge transportation market. Into Utah, they do grid injection. So the city of Los Angeles owns some salt mines in Utah that is going to be the biggest hydrogen storage in the whole world. And that's going to power a decommissioned fuel plant that will send energy into LA into the grid. So there's a lot of customers around, and we're centrally located between the biggest demand sources currently on the west coast of America.
So let me ask you, this was another one of my questions. So the solar panels lay flat, and we're not far from an airport. There's no visibility issues for like aircraft
For flying
coming in?
over, no.
So no for reflection or?
Not any more so than a traditional utility scale solar would be. It's not a problem to fly over. And again, these are things that would be addressed in our environmental review also. Now, we're not the engineers, so I don't want to take precedent and say what he's going to deliver for us, but these are all things that are going to be taken into account. And any issues that are brought up by the county, that's what we're here for today, so we can understand where you're at and how we can mitigate anything before we break ground to make sure it works out for everybody involved.
Brian, I have another comment.
Yeah, just come to the front, please.
Tom Kirkowski, to follow up on my previous one. I have a question about downwinders, the environmental impact study. Is that gonna be public record or be open to the public? When is that gonna come into effect before we say, hey, go ahead, start throwing stuff in the ground out here south of Battle Mountain? Because the majority of the people that live out in that area are gonna become downwinders.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we won't, as you see in a traditional natural gas facility, you see emissions coming off the stacks. We won't have any stacks that are going to be emitting anything. It's pure oxygen. And downwind is also, it's going to be incorporated in the environmental review, but we're not putting out anything that would be harmful to anyone downwind from us, apart from potentially they'll drive past our facility.
What about a safety concern, because you are kind of going in somewhat near a residential area? What would be a catastrophic failure of your hydrogen plant? Can they explode?
So anything can happen. There's risks involved, absolutely, but nothing that will go outside the boundaries of our property. And the placement of the actual liquefaction facility, the place where the pressurized hydrogen will stay, is far enough interior away from roads that any blast radius won't affect the concrete. And again, part of our environmental review that's in the process now. And Tom?
Yes.
Yeah, as Tom mentioned, we're 60 days out from having a completed environmental review. So the next step after we get that is to give the package to the United Environmental Protection Agency, and that packet is public knowledge. You'll be able to see it online. You can Google the Battle Mountain, Lander County, and it will be there. You'll see the entire package with all the engineering from the environmental engineer, as well as UEPA's comments, concerns, responses, and when we get our UEPA, our environmental permits, that will also be public knowledge.
And how many people will your plant employ? I'm sorry if I missed it.
25 to 30 full-time employees with between 200 to 250 construction workers. Our construction, start to finish, is about 24 months.
Okay. Is there any more public comment, questions?
No, I don't, and anything that sounds so wonderful, you have to think twice about, and I think that's why we're going, this is awesome, and it's state of the art. I mean, so it is exciting, and as I mentioned to Tyler earlier, I said we've had several companies come before us to do things, and we said, gee, sounds great, but they never produce.
Well,
But you seem to have been already vetted.
yeah,
and you
Patsy,
have the
to speak
experience.
on that point, is it too good to be true? Are we gonna execute? So we already have site control. We purchased the property, we own that, we're already doing our environmental review. We're fully funded, we have $560 million committed to the project, through Redstone Capital and Galileo Asset Management, who again, have been financing, owning, building, and developing these projects for over 40 years. So now we're going through getting the community support so we can start to put some money into the town.
Well, like I said, it almost sounds too good to be true, but we know your history, and so we appreciate you coming personally before us, and we're excited about it, especially if everything turns out the way it's supposed to turn out. I mean, why not? But we're looking forward to the environmental study, of course, and like you said, that'll be another couple months or whatever. So this will be ongoing, and if it's everything you're telling us today it's going to be, we're looking forward to working with you.
Well, we're excited to be here. We appreciate you giving us your ear for some time this afternoon because we've been working on this project for almost 16 months now, putting our teams together, de-risking it, not only from a finance perspective, so we could gather the capital to build it, but also de-risk it from a community's perspective. So we're not gonna come in, change the face and the landscape of your town. We're just trying to bring new opportunities.
Okay. Tyler, do you have a business card by chance?
I don't.
Okay.
In green energy, we don't like to cut trees down so much.
Not many trees out there.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to save them.
If you whack a tree down, I'm gonna be mad because I'm right next door.
Exactly.
All right, well, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheldon.
Thanks, Sheldon. Okay, we'll move into item 8. For discussion of possible action to approve, disapprove fiscal year 22 competitive funding opportunity grant application for the rehab apron and taxiway B and expand apron bidding and construction project at the Austin Airport for an estimated FAA funding, an amount of $1,171,875 and a Lander County match of $78,125 and authorize the county manager to sign.
Good morning, Commission. David Meyer, JEB Engineers for the record. I'll start with an apology. I normally have a nice project board here, but our plotter was down this morning and nobody smart enough to fix it was in the office. So, the project, just a quick background on it. This project was designed this last year in 2022 with the intention to go to bid this year and construct it within the normal FAA AIP process. We received a call from the FAA in late September, early October saying we have too many projects and not enough money. So this project will have to be bumped to 2024 for construction. It's still scheduled. That'll be our fallback plan, but I made a promise to Ray and Tom and Patsy and Michelle that I would chase this additional funding opportunity. So this is me coming through on that promise. Not the kind of people you want to let down. So all this money is, this money actually goes clear back to the omnibus bill of 2018. It was called omnibus funding and then it was renamed, oh my God, I'm going to lose it right in front of you. Supplemental appropriations funds. This is the last of that money. It says FY 2022 because it was actually designated for last year and they didn't get it all spent. So this is the leftover money. It's the same match percentage, 6.25%. Same money, same grant applications. In fact, it's the same grant application I bring up for our normal AIP, same assurances, just more money. So we'd like the opportunity to chase it and help the Phoenix ADO out because they seem to be a little short on funds these days. So
We need the runway fixed.
I know, and once we get the apron, the runway will be the next one. So the runway and the apron were both reconstructed in back-to-back years, or cycles, I guess, 95 and 97. So they hit at the same time, unfortunately.
Okay, do we have any questions from the commission, public?
Is the stronger priority to go with the apron repair versus the runway repair?
I mean, the apron is in worse shape. Part of what drives the FAA's funding is the Pavement Condition Index, or PCI study, and the PCI in the apron is significantly lower than the runway. The PCI study, I have some heartburn with sometimes. They did it right after we did our crack fill and seal coat project in 2017. So all of our cracks were filled, all our pavements looked nice. They said, this looks like new pavement. I said, it's not new pavement, it's just fixed pavement. And that unfortunately drove our pavement condition numbers up. So they're both in suitable condition. They both got 5 to 8 years left in them before they even become a concern. They need to be
So
moved
what
forward.
should this give us, the expectation for longevity then if we do this, 'cause then we'll have to turn around and do the runway, right?
Yes, so this would be, we will be removing the asphalt and replacing the asphalt, leaving the base in place. That is a 10-year design life, but really that's an extension of 10 years beyond the 20 we've already gotten, which is the design life for a full pavement section, so.
And we're just a little bit over that, aren't we?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
if we approve this today, you send it in, but we don't start for a couple of years.
Well, so basically what'll happen is we'll submit on this is discretionary. So we will compete with other airports who put in for this funding source, with the intention of competing to get this funds in
Maybe
2023.
next year.
If we don't get this money, if it goes to other airports, which is a possibility, then we are good to go for 2024. So we have that as a fallback plan. It's just this keeps us better on schedule with our 5-year plan because the intention from when we even started this design was to construct it this year. So
Okay, well, I think we should go for it. I'll go ahead and make a motion. That we approve the application for the FY22 competitive funding opportunity for our rehab apron and taxiway B and expand apron. And this is for the construction project at Austin Airport. The estimated FAA funding is $1,171,875. So we would approve the match of $78,125, and we authorize the county manager to sign.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so Patsy made the motion, JR seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
Commission.
We'll move into item 9 of our agenda, correspondence, reports, future agenda items.
Yes, Commissioner, I think we may want to look at what your guys' dates are for budget. Usually we do it the middle of March, and usually we do it on an off week. So not on a commission week, but it's fine by me. If you guys want to do them back to back, it doesn't matter, but typically it's 2 days.
Sometime in March, you said?
Yeah, like 15th, 16th, I think. Seem to look good, but it all varies on whatever your guys' schedule are. Doesn't matter to me.
Do we have to put that on as an agenda item?
It may be a future agenda item, something we can discuss. If you guys would, whatever you guys would like, and then we
No,
can.
I thought if we set the dates for budget, don't we have to have it as an agenda item?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we don't have to set the date but we have to put an agenda out for the budget hearing, yes, but you guys can give me direction to put that here without an agenda item.
Oh, okay, no, that's what I'm asking.
Sorry.
Well, the 15th, 16th, that works for me. Hard to know that far in advance, but.
What's that?
Put it down in March, I'll set some dates.
So, yeah,
I've
check.
got a mail down in March. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll set
okay.
some dates.
He has it down in March, so he'll have to check the dates.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
That's a good time to be gone.
Yeah, honestly, I could probably do any weekend in March, so.
So we have to work around your days off, Mike?
No.
No, I can't do it. What?
We work around your days off, or you wanna get back to us to dates?
All I have to do is sit down, other than that, I can make the arrangement. If it's down, I gotta be there.
Well, we always go to full day, and usually not a full day the next day, but we plan for it. So I'm okay, 14, 15, 16.
Yeah, we'll just set it tentatively, and then if Mike has some conflicting dates, then
You bet.
just get with Bert, let him know, Mike, and then,
I might go back.
okay.
Yeah, you could shoot us, whatever, and we'll make it work.
Let's start with Tuesday and Wednesday,
Yeah,
14th
yeah.
of March.
14th, 15th? Okay. Oh, he's on it now.
We'll find out here real quick.
Future
I would
agenda,
prefer Wednesday, Thursday.
we need to talk
Don't
about
have courts on Tuesdays.
Commission, our council has court on Tuesdays, so that might conflict a little bit. 15th, 16th would be better.
I'm good, it's March 2nd and 3rd.
Okay, so 15th and 16th would
15th
work?
and 16th, yeah.
Okay.
And then, yes, where are we at on our AirMed contract? That's coming up, isn't it?
I think we're gonna put it on the 9th meeting. He has all the information, reviewing all the backup contracts and all the
For
information.
February
for
9th?
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll move into public comment.
Oh,
Oh.
library board, you've got that down?
Yeah, I got it down. I have, so I have the employee engagement, I have the library, possible book exchange, or how we're gonna work that, monitoring of what, literature's in the library, if the library board would, or if you guys would like to address that before getting a library board, and then the creation of the library board, which we'll need counsel for, because I know there are some steps we gotta follow to do that.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we'll move into public comment. For non-agenda items only, persons are invited to submit comments in writing and or attend and make comments on any non-agenda item at the board meeting, if any. And discussion of those comments at the discretion of the board. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person, again, at the discretion of the board. Reasonable restrictions may be placed on public comment based upon time, place, and manner, but public comment based upon viewpoint may not be restricted. Do we have any public comment?
Commission, Sean Baker for the record. I just wanted FYI here, February 5th, the pool will be closed to the public because we will be recertifying all the lifeguards. So Sunday, February 5th, all the lifeguards will be at the pool, but they'll be recertifying their certification to be a lifeguard. The rest of the rec center will be open, the basketball courts, everything else will be up and running. I just wanted, if you guys hear any comments or anything, just so you know.
How often do they have to recertify?
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years?
But we are up where all lifeguards are in the same year this year. It worked out perfect, so we just closed for a day. They can all recertify, everything will be good.
Are you getting some from Austin?
I will be reaching out to the 2 I have in Austin and seeing where we're gonna go with that. So, most likely, yes, at least 1 I know of, and we'll see if the other ones wanna come down too, or if they have different plans for this summer.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Any more public comment?
We are in the middle of bill draft, so if anybody is aware of any bill draft that you'd like me to respond to, please make me aware, but they come in by the Groves, as you guys know, so, we respond to the ones that are more specific to us. So let me know if one of them come across anybody's.
You know, that's interesting, because NACO was always our big one for, being our lobbyist and everything as far as the bills, and I think maybe, I would like to see us invite NACO to, come over and talk with us.
Or you'd like an agenda item to see if NACO will present to the commission?
And possible membership again.
Resign?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can discuss it. On those, I mean, is that something we could elicit, Porter Group to help us with as well, or no? They're more on
No,
federal
that's
level.
And so they only allow certain individuals, I believe me and Lakin are the designees for the county that respond to these bill drafts. So it's gotta be somebody that works for the,
Yeah, yes, probably agendize it and we can have discussion on it, cause like I say, I still have concerns.
you bet.
Any more public comment?
Yeah, the last one, will we start getting, on the credit cards that we discussed last meeting? Is that, this start coming to us, or what was the?
I think what they
Only if
decided
there's
is that there is a thick packet with everything that you guys can review at all times in, where's that at?
Okay.
I am gonna start putting the main, statement in the packet like we had talked about, but the big packet, you can come look at it anytime in the office. But we will have it on as a future item to bring back the credit card policy for updated, hopefully next.
And any issues will come before us, correct? If there's somebody with issues?
It
Did we
will,
decide that, or am I wrong?
Juicy's gonna be the new kind of point on that,
Okay.
but yeah, if she needs assistance, she would come and find us.
And we are gonna start going back to, if the old commission remembers, Brian, I know remembers, because it was, when I first started here in '07 or something, a long time ago. They, Rogene Hill would sit in the back, which is Lakin now, with the packet of all the bills in front. If any commissioner had a question, she would just pull the bill out and read it right off, so everybody had it. And we're working our way back to that, so.
Okay, good. All right, so, I'll take a motion for adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion, second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
This conference is no longer being recorded. Muted.